Hi, I'm Mike Klein, and I'm the Executive Director here at Dover Sherborn Cable Television. Recently, we lost a dear member of the DSCTV family. Janet MacKenzie was a volunteer here at the studio from its inception in 1991 until she retired in 2013. To say that Janet was a big part of getting this studio off the ground is an understatement. She worked behind the scenes in many shows, and she also produced a few of her own programs. She also served on our board of directors from 1995 until 2003. A lifelong Dover resident, Janet got started here because she thought this station would be a great asset to the Dover community, and her many contributions made this vision a reality. She also served on many committees in Dover. It's safe to say she dearly loved her hometown. She was an extremely sweet soul with a great sense of humor. She not only was a producer here, but she became a dear friend of mine. She will be missed. Right now, you are about to see an Around the Towns interview that Dan Murphy did with Janet right after she retired in July of 2013. Janet spoke about her memories here at the station.
Hi, I'm Janet MacKenzie, and I used to work here, and I don't anymore.
So let's start. How long did you work with DSCTV?
I worked 22 years, and
How'd you get started?
I got started because I was just getting ready to retire from my work at Baybank, and I needed something to do to take up my time. And I do love photography, and I thought of going into that a little deeper. And I happened to be eating supper that night, and I was all alone, so I'm watching TV, and I saw where a Channel 8 in Dover popped on, and I said, whoa, what's that? So I watched it, and they were advertising for people to volunteer and come and take the classes that they were offering. And I said to myself, oh, I could take a class on the camera, and that would be good, and it would be cheap because it's free. So that's how I ended up signing up. And then I thought, well, I don't know if I can do all of those other things like editing and lights and, you know, all this stuff, sound. And I said, well, I'll really try to learn the camera, and then if they kick me out, I'll at least know that. But I ended up having a wonderful teacher in Andy Perrott, was the first one here, and he was excellent. He had was really very patient, and it was a lot of help to somebody like me trying to figure out what I was doing. And I remember in the first class, I had a boy, I've forgotten how old exactly he was, but it was Kerchick boy. And if I needed a question answered, I would ask him. And I think he thought it was kind of good an adult was asking him for advice. And
So what were some of the responsibilities that you took on while you were here?
well, it was mostly the camera work. And I think it helped too that I was in town all the time because I didn't have a job to go to, and many of the volunteers had jobs. And if we were doing something like in the afternoon, I was one of the few camera people that was around. So I think just being there for them a lot. And then, of course, I went on to produce a couple of my own shows. They were one-time shows, but I learned a lot from that.
You want to talk somewhat about what some of those shows were?
Sure, the first one I did was, I thought in my own mind it would probably be a 15-minute show because I wanted to talk about my father's career here in Dover because he was tree warden and moth superintendent of the town of Dover for 60 years. He retired at the age of 80. So he spent a long time at it, and I also wanted it to be a little history of the tree department because it was quite different in my father's day than it is now. So I wanted to talk about that. And in his position, my father had worked with almost every young fellow in town, so I had to pick a few people I wanted to interview, and I got in some trouble for that because I had so many people afterwards say, oh, we would have been on. Well, it had probably been a running series if I had done that because there were so many people that had worked with him. But I chose different people for things that I wanted to bring out about him and the department. And it did end up being an hour and I think it was 4 minutes and something seconds, which was fine, except that's a lot of editing. And thank goodness I had a terrific gal, Josie Sethi, who had been through the classes here and everything, and she had done some work, film work before she came here, so she had a little advantage there. She helped me with the editing in particular, but she did also work on, you know, the camera work for me at times. So that's how I got to know her. So we got through that one, and then I wanted to do a Mother's Day show, and I thought I would do it with my own mother in mind. So that did end up being a 15-minute show, but as I've told people, my mother would have understood that because my father and I were pretty close. So, but those are the two shows that I really did myself. And that wasn't really what I wanted to do, was produce. I wanted to just be on the camera.
Well, I mean, and the camera work was what you really enjoyed. So what were some of the aspects of working the camera that you really did enjoy?
That I did enjoy?
Yeah.
Just being there and doing it. And when you end up seeing it on television and you know you haven't goofed up too much, you know, it's an accomplishment that you feel comfortable with. And but I love going out and you know, to different events and trying to do things with that. And you know, I just loved doing it, more or less.
Yeah. Well, and did you have really positive reactions to your work that you experienced?
Oh yes, I did. I was grateful to have learned all the things I did from everything, and all the interviews that we had done, and the people that we interviewed, and gave you a different aspect of what their jobs were and what their lifetime, you know, what they have gone through. And I love people, so I enjoyed getting to hear about what all these different people are doing.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of people, I don't always remember their names. But I do remember, so far I've had a pretty good memory of things that have happened a long time ago. I've been lucky that way, I guess. So it's been fun, and it's been fun thinking back on all these different things. And some of the fun things that have happened, like I remember when we first started, we did a show called Cable Neighbors, and we did that with the Sherborn people at the beginning, and they were 15-minute segments, and we used to come, I remember coming up here on a Sunday afternoon, and we filmed all the segments in one swoop. And the one I really enjoyed there was we interviewed a chef from the Sherborn Inn, and he was cooking up a lot of food, and we got to eat it afterwards, so I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed, you know, there were fun things that happened, and there were sometimes a catastrophe, and you know, the mics didn't work and all this stuff, so it was an interesting time sometimes. But the main thing, I think, I now appreciate watching television and seeing these people that get paid for their work. I think we're just as professional here as they are. And I see glitches in some of their work, and I say, well, we had some glitches, but not that many, and I think we did a pretty good job. So
Yeah.
it was very rewarding to look back on it that way.
Yeah. So what do you plan to do now with your retirement?
I'm finally retired. So, and that's what I really wanted to do. I want time to do things. I was on other committees in the town too, so that took up some time also, and I just wanted to be free of all that and have some time for myself, so I could, I've got no big plans, but I'm just going along, and if something great comes up, I'll be there to take it, I guess.
Yeah. So what were some of these other committees you were on?
I started off I was on the tree committee for quite some time. I can't really remember how many years I was on that. Then I went on I was on the cable board here for a while, and I was on the Memorial Day committee, and then that got me right up until just a couple of years ago. So the last thing I had was the volunteering here, and that's when I decided I was going to let that go too.
You were here when Sherborn was combined with cable station. Was that
Yes,
also a welcome transition?
Yes, I did get off the board at that time because they needed somebody to get off, and I thought that was a good way to slip out of that one. But so I got off. But yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't worked a lot with the people from Sherborn, but I have been here and seen, you know, the results of their work and everything. And I did work with Pat Cassell when we first started and everything. I did some things over in Sherborn with her, and enjoyed, you know, meeting other people from other towns, and have made some friends from that too. So,
Well, how did your responsibilities here change over time?
how did it change? Well, the equipment changed, for one thing, and the second show I did about my mother, I had to do on the computer, but Mike here helped me out and got through that one okay. So I don't think it was a disaster or anything. So, but yeah, the equipment changed, and but I was with Linda Means on her show, Candid Conversations, for a long time, and I tried to always be available for her. And over the years, I began to realize that I was getting a little older, and I, found it hard to run around with the cameras and stuff, but I really didn't want to give it up. But then one day I just woke up and said, that's it.
So is there anything else that you'd like to say, or because I think that about wraps this up?
Well, I'd like to thank all the people I worked with, and I just, as I say, it's the people that make the whole thing worthwhile. And I've enjoyed it. I've met some wonderful people, and I hope they'll be lifetime friends now. And it's just been a wonderful experience, and I think everybody should have that experience. So hopefully in the days I'm retired now, really retired, I hope I can still remember everybody and at least be able to say hi to them and know I know them. But it's, and I think it's a wonderful thing for the young people to learn, and even if they don't go on to do it for a lifetime, it's a great thing to learn. And as I say, you do meet wonderful people along the way, so if you're so inclined to like that part of it.
Well, thanks so much for coming in, and thanks so much for working here for so long.
Well, thank you for both. It's been a pleasure, and I'll really miss it too.